Assalamu alaikum sister.
Walaikum salam.
Welcome back to our channel.
Thank you so much.
We are back with questions regarding parenting that were asked by our brothers and sisters on Instagram about their worries and concerns regarding their parenting journey. Me being a mother myself, I am looking forward to hear answers from you as well.
I am excited.
So before we start with it, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Okay, so I am a counselor and I currently have my private practice where I deal with children as well as adults. I started my journey by working in different schools. So I worked with different age groups, different children, especially with younger kids, starting from the age of kids as young as 3 years until, of course, teenagers, 18 years.
Mashallah, you are doing a great job. Let me lead my first question. At what age can kids understand emotions and can see a psychologist?
That's a really good question. Kids experience emotion from day one of their birth. In fact, they also experience emotion from their mother's womb in terms of how the mother is feeling. They take that emotion and experience it with the mother. And once they are born, they feel basic emotions like happy, sad, angry, they're scared until the age of 2 years. Probably when they grow a little older, say 3 to 5 years of age, they start understanding emotions and also can control these emotions. So if they're feeling angry, we can teach them a little bit about how to deal with the anger a little better. And once they grow even more, that is around 6 years of age until the age of teenagers, they understand complex emotions a little better, like jealousy, guilt, etc. And if we talk about teenagers, they experience all these emotions, but the difference is that they experience a combination of these emotions. So the jealousy, the guilt, they can have mix of both. So sometimes they feel angry but also sad for something else, and happy also at the same time, and they're just moving back and forth between these emotions. That's why we feel like teenagers are so confusing to understand sometimes, but that's how they explore a lot about themselves. To answer the question, when can they see a psychologist? As I told you, I've seen kids from the age of 3 years until the age of 18. So a good time to start seeking counselors help is when the language is developed for the child. But for parents, I think they can start seeking preventive support also from psychologists from the time of birth. Mainly, how to know when to consult a professional is by looking for developmental milestones if they have been on time, like maintaining eye contact, the way they behave socially, the expressions, the smile. Even when the language is not developed, if you think there is something, there's a drastic change from what you see other children doing, then it's just nice to consult a counselor for that. Apart from that, for older children, if you see a sudden shift in the way they are behaving, like if they become extra quiet, don't assume that they've just become very well mannered and nice kids. Maybe they're going through something. It's better to check in what they are going through. Apart from that, there can be general issues which you will come to know very easily, which is hyperactive behavior, defiant behavior, very angry behavior, or if your child is experiencing stress, anxiety. These are things you will come to know automatically that you should seek some support for.
Right. How to handle a tantrum in public place?
I like the mention of the word public place here especially. And my answer is going to be that do exactly what you do at home, because a tantrum is a tantrum, whether it's in a public place or in the house. The child is experiencing the same emotions, there's no difference in that. I understand it can be a little more stressful to have 50 eyes on you, it can also be a little embarrassing. So know that it's okay for your child to have tantrums. Every child has them, and that's completely fine. Don't worry about what the people think at that time, but only worry about what your child is experiencing at that time. It will put you in a better state and give you more clarity as to what you need to do, because you as a parent have the best instincts to what your child is experiencing. The world will tell you 100 things that this is what your child needs, but you know exactly what your child is experiencing that for. Maybe your child is tired, maybe he or she is overstimulated with the experience they are having in a public place, or they are just exhausted and want to go home. You know the reason and you know what you're supposed to do, but just be calm in that moment, because when you are stressed, the child catches that and you won't be in a state to help them out. If possible, yes, definitely, since it's a public place, try to first move to a quieter place. That will put you, both of you, in a better state to deal with the situation. After you go to a quiet place, probably try to use some sort of distractive measures. Give them something that they like. I'm sure parents do carry toys or games that they like. Just give it to them, but before that, make sure that they're calm by probably hugging them. Give them physical affection. It regulates their nervous system. Something that you can just constantly do while they are throwing a tantrum is mirror their emotions. Just say what you observe. If they are tired, so just say that I see that you're tired and we're soon going home, or I see that you're extremely frustrated, or you're upset because this, you're upset. Just keep on saying that, and it will help the child to express and understand what they are going through. The main reason of tantrum is that the child doesn't have the capability to express it through language. So when you put it out there, they know that my parent has understood what I'm going through, and that will make them in a better space.
Right. The next question that we have received is what to tell your child when a friend is bullying them?
I understand bullying is something that's very common these days, and it's unfortunate how insensitive the environment is getting to in bullying. So, while it is a tough experience, it becomes more tough to experience bullying in a state of loneliness. So, give them a safe space to talk about it. Don't be ready with answers or advices as to, oh, why didn't you answer them back, or why didn't you just say this. Just give them the space to talk and listen to them, what they have experienced, how they felt in that moment, and just let them speak for as long as they want to. Instead of giving advice, ask them questions, be curious. Ask them what happened, and how did it start, how did it end, what did you want to do but couldn't do. Let them speak as much as they can and support them. They need to know that they have a supportive parent who understands them, because in that moment they're already feeling helpless and powerless. They feel like, oh, I wasn't capable to deal with this situation and maybe I'm weak. So if we give them advices as to why they didn't do a particular thing in that moment, it just makes them feel more powerless. We want to empower them. Also, another way to empower your children is by going with them and speaking for them if they are very young. That's how they learn to model that behavior and know that they are not wrong. When they're experiencing bullying, it's very common to question themselves and their worth. So, when somebody is out there speaking for them, it gives them the opportunity to understand that I am worthy enough for somebody to speak up for me. Probably empower them to go and speak to authorities if this happened in the school. I'm sure if it's happened outside, you do speak to the parents and all. But apart from that, create a good support system for them. Call the friends who are good, make good friendships for them, help them to call them over at home. Just strengthen the positive relationships, because when they are out with them, probably if a bully is there, the bond around your child will really make them feel more comfortable and confident in that moment.
Right.
Another very important thing to understand is to know the nature of bullying and explain it to your children. Bullying is nothing but a lack of confidence in them. So usually your child might be thinking that they are the weaker ones and bully is somebody who's very strong, but it's really the opposite. Most of the bullies are really weak and shallow from inside, and this is their way of coping with their weakness. When I make fun of somebody, it makes me feel more powerful, and when I feel like I controlled somebody else's emotions,
Right.
that's how I feel powerful. And when you tell this to your child, the next time it won't impact them so much, knowing that the bully is also going through his own problems, and
Right.
this is it's sad that they're dealing with it this way.
Right. My in laws don't understand that lying in a fun way is not okay. How to deal with problems related to raising children in joint family.
Right, raising children in joint family is especially a very relatable problem in most Indian families. I understand that we all have different opinions. Even between you and your spouse, you will have different ways of raising children,
Right.
and you'll be going through so many arguments as to how you want to raise your child. So, if you have more people, the more differences of opinion. Having said that, of course, parents should have the first right to deciding how you want to raise your children, and then secondary, you can take guidance from other people. But if there are family members who have a certain way of behaving or saying things like lying, of course, is a very important value. And as adults, we understand that fun lying is different from the actual lying, but children may not understand that. And to explain this to your family members, you will have to take the harder way. There's no easy way here. You will have to go out there and confront them. However, I know that it is really looked down upon to speak to your elders in a way where you are telling them not to do things.
Right.
It may sound rude or can be taken the wrong way. So I understand how difficult it is, but know that when you know that you're not saying something to be rude, and if you know how to say it in a respectful manner, then you just need to constantly remind this. Saying this once won't make a big difference. You may have to consistently be respectful and remind them that we would like to raise our children by teaching them honesty. They might say things like, oh, but this is just a fun lie, why are you being so serious? We've raised kids and we know things. We hear these things in a joint family, and that's tough. But having said that, you don't take that as an answer. You say it in a firm way that yes, I understand your point and I get it, but my child may not get it. So I would like to please request you to do it this way. Be very respectful, but keep on consistently reminding them. Don't give up saying that, oh, they don't understand. They will understand eventually. You will also have to teach your child to understand differences in people and different values that people will bring in. Maybe you can control your family members, but you can't control the outside world. When they go to school, they are going to have friends who are going to lie and show different values. So this is a learning opportunity to teach your child that there will be different people doing different things, but this is the value we bring, and that's what makes us special and different from other people. In fact, take this positively, that you're getting this exposure at home itself. Right. To teach them this.
Absolutely. How to raise absolutely confident and a well-behaved child.
Wow. Well, I would like to change the question a little bit if you give me the permission.
Sure.
To. I would rather answer a question which talks about raising well behaved and absolutely. What was the question?
How to raise absolutely confident and a well-behaved
Confident,
child.
yes.
Yeah.
So you can only make confident and well-behaved adults, not children.
Right.
Children are supposed to be exploring who they are. They're not supposed to know it all and be confident. They're not supposed to behave a certain way. They're supposed to be curious and have no filters, and that's what makes them beautiful. Yes, that makes it a difficult job for us parents, but that's how they grow and develop to be the most confident and well behaved adults. But definitely, I'll answer that in a way. What are the things that you can do which impacts us as we are growing up? So to answer this question, you as parents have a very important role here, because as we know that we as adults are a product of what we were raised like, and when we actually look into our childhood experiences, a lot of the things we do right now is because we were told to do this as children. So as parents, the first and the most important thing that you need to make sure you inculcate in the child is that they are loved and they are worthy of just existing. Yes, you can have a lot of things you don't like about them and you want to change, but you do not have to focus on them as people when you are criticizing them. So, for example, if a child is making a mistake, while you focus on them, make sure that you communicate this in a way that you're only concentrating on the action at hand and not the person in front of you. So if I mess up a dish, then I don't become a bad cook altogether. But as an adult, I may end up saying that I'm a bad cook, because that's how we were told as a child, that oh, you're bad at this or that. But you are not bad. Probably change that small little language, the small little words that we say. We feel like, oh, but I meant it that way. But the child doesn't understand what you meant. You need to be very literal in the way you say it. And not only in the criticism, you also need to focus on the way you praise them. If you keep saying things like, oh, you're so good, then you're focusing on the person. That means no matter what they do, they're going to be good. That's not what we want to tell them. What we want to say is that the action that they are doing is really good. So maybe something like, oh, you've written in this book with really good handwriting. So whether you're praising or you're criticizing, in both ways you want to make sure that you're only focusing on a specific action, and you're also communicating the fact that yes, we make mistakes, celebrate mistakes, and at the same time you're loved for that. And then let's look at what we can do to make it better together. Never make them feel alone. Be with them even when they mess up something. I personally do not believe in a lot of timeouts and giving children those alone times, because they still don't have the skill to really process it. Sit with them and process it together if they make a mistake. And yes, you can be very angry with them at times, but express that anger in a respectful manner. They deserve all the love and respect.
When my child misbehaves and never listens to anyone, is it a sign that our parenting has gone wrong?
No, absolutely not. There can be so many different reasons for a child to misbehave, and it's perfectly natural. In fact, it is a way that they develop by exploring different behaviors, looking at responses that they get from the environment. So, know that this is a phase and it's not something that you're doing wrong. But definitely look into something that you want to try differently. There can be things that work for one child that doesn't work for another. Not necessarily your parenting is gone wrong. I've seen parents raising two kids in the same way. Let's say we're talking about twins, not even two different kids. One twin is so well behaved and the other one is not. So how can your parenting be wrong if you're doing the same thing? But it's the child who receives it in a different way. So try different things with different people and something will definitely work out. Look, experiment, be curious, but don't be hard on yourself. You're also growing with them and you're also learning so many different things.
Correct. I have always focused on teaching my child right and wrong, and now he overthinks and is scared to make mistakes.
Firstly, I'm so glad that you're aware about the fact that this could be a reason of him overthinking and is scared of making mistakes. Your awareness will make a huge difference in terms of how you parent him from now on, which is going to be slightly different from what you did before, right? We all make mistakes and we learn from them, and that's perfectly okay. Now that you know that it could be because you've taught him the right and wrong and he's trying to think a lot about it, you just need to reduce it a little bit. It's a good quality to think through these things in life, and he or she will probably end up being more mature into making life decisions wisely. So this is a good quality. Probably we just want him to also be more confident about the things that he is thinking in the first place. So encourage him a lot, give him opportunities to independently make decisions and encourage him for those decisions, even if some of the decisions turn out to be wrong in some way. Make sure that you encourage them and tell them that it's perfectly fine and we learn from it. Model making mistakes, being imperfect to this child by thinking out loud to them about the mistakes you make. Tell them regularly that, oh, I was doing this and I messed up, and oh, it's fine, I then repaired it. Laugh it out with this child. It will normalize the experience of sometimes loosening up a little bit and making mistakes, and that will give him the opportunity to believe in himself more.
Okay. Lastly, Ruhi, Islam mentions rights of parents. What are the rights of children according to you?
Rights of children, not just according to me, but from an Islamic point of view only. There is so much, there's such beautiful hadiths, and Quran also mentions so many things about this. I would like to share a beautiful book that I happened to go through, which is Children in Quran and Sunnah, where they have shared such important aspects of upbringing children from an Islamic standpoint, and I would like to share what they talk about the rights of children in that. There are a number of points, but I'll just share the ones relevant here. One of which is education, not just academic education but religious education also. Make this fun for children so that they enjoy and look forward to seeking knowledge of our deen as well as the world. Secondly, giving them a good name is their right. Give a name which has a good meaning and is pleasant to call from. Also, give a nickname with a name which you call them out of love. And apart from that, right for a child is your love, your attention. By this I mean you value their existence. Prophet Muhammad really presses on giving your child dignity and the respect that they deserve. Next is fulfilling your promises to the children. Sometimes, in fun or just to distract them, we'll be like, oh, let's just go home, I'll give you this, if they're not ready to come home. And then you don't give it to them. You think they've forgotten. Only if they ask it, you give. Even if they don't remember, fulfill your promise because you remember it. That builds trust and security in your child. Next is a right to play. Play with your child not just as an adult but in a childish manner. There are so many stories and incidences where Prophet used to play with Imam Hassan and Hussein in a childish manner, and that just is the best way to connect with your child, and is not just because you want to connect with your child but is an important right of a child and you need to give it to them. So you see how Islam, and if you really learn our religion well, there are so many beautiful ways to raise your children with security and confidence. And I think if we just do that, a lot of basic mental health support that we give as counselors will reduce.
Right. Thank you for this. This was really, really helpful.
I'm glad it was. I really hope it was helpful to you, audience, as well. And if there are any other questions that you would like to ask us, please leave it in the comments.